Hi everybody, my name is Brent Tafoya, and I'm here with Amanda Snow, Ashley Runion, and Dustin Shaw, and we're going to review the unethical leadership practices of Elizabeth Holmes. Here's an outline and overview of what we're going to review in our PowerPoint today. Ethical versus unethical leadership, principles of ethical leadership, ethical principles violated by Elizabeth Holmes, unethical leadership, the results of her unethical leadership, a different leadership approach that Elizabeth Holmes could have taken. Ethical versus unethical leadership. Leadership is a process whereby the leader influences others to reach a common goal. Ethical leadership is leadership that is directed by respect for ethical beliefs and values for the dignity and rights of others. It is related to concepts such as respect, service, justice, honesty, and building the community. Unethical leadership are behaviors conducted and decisions made by organizational leaders that are illegal and or violate moral standards, and those that impose processes and structures that promote unethical conduct by followers. Here's a list of principles of ethical leadership by Northhouse. Ethical leadership is rooted in respect, service, justice, honesty, and community. It is the duty of the leaders to treat followers with respect, to listen to them closely, and be tolerant of opposing points of view. Ethical leaders serve others by being altruistic, placing others' welfare ahead of their own in an effort to contribute to the common good. Justice requires that leaders place fairness at the center of their decision-making, including the difficult task of being fair to the individual, as well as being fair to the common interests of the community. Good leaders are honest. They do not lie, nor do they misrepresent the truth. Finally, ethical leaders are committed to building community, which includes searching for goals that are compatible with the goals of the followers and with society as a whole. Elizabeth Holmes is an example of an unethical leader. She dropped out of Stanford to start a company called Theranos. She promised this company would revolutionize the healthcare industry by quickly, cheaply, and nearly painlessly allowing virtually every blood test known to man be done.
Hello, my name is Dustin Shaw, and I will be discussing some of the ways that Elizabeth Holmes violated ethical leadership. There are many ways in which she did this. However, I will be focusing on three principles in particular. They are respect others, manifest honesty, and builds community. One of the ways that ethical leaders show respect is by helping their followers become more aware of their own beliefs and helping them develop to their potential. They respect others' choices as well. Unethical leaders treat others as means of attaining their own goals. So if a follower makes a choice that is good for them, but they think it will hurt their own cause, they will react negatively instead of providing encouragement and validation to that choice. One example of this was when one of Holmes's employees decided to leave Theranos so they could move to another city to be with their partner. They were not allowed to say goodbye to their team or even tell them why they were leaving. An ethical leader would have provided encouragement for the decision, let them know that they understood and wished them luck. Instead, they were given a quick exit that may make it difficult for them to trust their next employer. Unfortunately, these kinds of exits were commonplace. Ethical leaders are honest. This means not only telling the truth, but being as open as possible about situations, even when it is more beneficial not to be. An unethical leader is not afraid to lie or misrepresent situations to benefit themselves. Elizabeth was not an honest leader, and in the end, this led to her downfall. According to the Securities Exchange Commission, she lied about Theranos only using their own machines for blood tests when they were using third-party equipment, that pharmaceutical companies had endorsed them when they hadn't, that their machines were deployed on military helicopters and used in battlefields when they had only been used as part of a study, that the company was growing by utilizing existing revenues when this was due to cash from investors, that they had good relationships with major pharmacies and a grocer after things had stalled with all of them, that their tests did not need FDA approval when they did, that Theranos had ethical leaders build community by taking into account everyone in a group and helping to nurture an open and positive environment. This helps to work towards common goals that are good for everybody. Unethical leaders will coerce communities for the benefit of their own agenda without regards for their followers. The environment at Theranos was anything but positive. After several employees left because they disagreed with the unethical thing.
Hi, my name is Ashley Runion, and I'm going to talk to you about Elizabeth Holmes and the results of her unethical leadership. As we have already discussed, when defining unethical leadership, we see it as behaviors conducted and decisions made by organizational leaders that are illegal and/or violate moral standards, and those that impose processes and structures that promote unethical conduct by followers. There are many lessons to be learned from the behavior demonstrated by Elizabeth Holmes during the downfall of her company. Let's take a look at the results of her unethical leadership and how it had a negative effect. The first result stems from her dishonesty, which is seen in the act of fraud. Turns out, Theranos claimed annual revenues of $100 million when their actual figure was around $100,000. Another fraudulent act, which we have mentioned, was claiming certain pharmaceutical companies had endorsed Theranos technology, which they had not. The placement of pharmaceutical company logos on the documents led investors to believe that they were written by those companies. This type of dishonesty scarred the name of Holmes and deemed her as not credible. Taking huge risks with the well-being of patients and throwing all moral obligations out the window is a negative characteristic and showcases unethical leadership. The company behaved illegally. However, the bigger issue is the actions demonstrated by Holmes and her unethical behavior. Lying to cover up mistakes, taking shortcuts, and having no signs of remorse for this type of behavior is all seen by Elizabeth Holmes in regards to the downfall of her company. In an SEC settlement in 2018, Holmes paid a $500,000 fine and relinquished control of her company. Holmes has also been indicted on federal wire fraud charges. It is said that the punishment for a crime such as this is 15 to 20 years in prison. Although she has not pleaded guilty to any of the crimes she is being accused of, Elizabeth Holmes has caused more destruction than she could ever know. I will leave you with a quote that I feel is fitting for this situation. Power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Elizabeth Holmes lost the trust of both the public and those immediately involved with Theranos when it was uncovered that she had lied about business operations in order to achieve personal gain. It's difficult to say whether or not Holmes intentionally set out to deceive investors and end users when she created the company. If the intent to design a new technology that would positively affect the healthcare industry had been there at some point, it seems that Theranos grew too rapidly without the technology necessary to be operational. Trouble then seemed to compound on itself, with Holmes lying to continue to receive financial resources and in turn needing to coerce employees into covering up for her. Had Holmes spent more time on technological development upfront, there would have been no need to lie or use other companies' machines. If the leadership team had stepped back at any point during their rapid growth and reminded themselves of the organization's vision, they could have possibly redeemed the company before it was too late and gotten back on track. Although maybe not immediately, success based entirely on lies and coercion will result in downfall at some point. Employees that have been bullied into lying will eventually break away and alert others. An organization with a product that promises to do something so concrete, such as blood testing, could not have been operational indefinitely without facing consequences. Creating a vision that integrates moral values is crucial to behaving ethically. Without a moral compass, it becomes increasingly easy to make decisions that are not always ethically sound, especially in difficult situations or when a leader stands to personally benefit from certain outcomes. Acting virtuously helps guide a leader's behavior into creating an ethical climate within an organization. One of the most straightforward recommendations that could have transformed the leadership in this scenario to reflect ethical behavior was to be honest. According to Northhouse's research, this not only would have involved telling the truth, but it also includes transparency and giving others as much information as necessary so as to have a full understanding of the organization's operations and position. It is important to lead an organization in a way that promotes responsible risk-taking appropriate for the level of resources available. Being honest and conservative with growth could have prevented Theranos from getting to a point where Holmes felt the need to cover up what was actually going on. Otherwise, when the truth or complete picture, leaders have the power to positively affect the lives of many, from those in society to direct followers within the organization.